This is the exact place where my life was painfully interrupted. I remember the exact day and I remember the exact time. It was February 21st, 2024, 6:29 p.m. A teammate back there passed me the ball right here, but instead of controlling it well, it got away from me. I burst to get to the ball before the opponents could, and in that burst, my knee burst too. A gruesome sound like I had never heard, a disgusting feeling that I had never felt. My leg collapsed under me. My teammates huddled around me. Soon they got me off the field, and before the end of the day, I'd find out the diagnosis, a torn ACL and a torn meniscus. I'd love to tell you the pain got better quicker, but it didn't. My recovery was a mess. We couldn't get the medication right. My brain was in a fog. I couldn't sleep with the leg brace. In fact, I spent the next 40 nights after my surgery on the couch in my basement instead of sleeping next to my wife. I thought I'd be on my laptop with my leg propped up, doing work, writing sermons, blessing the ministry, but I was out of it for weeks and weeks and weeks. It messed with me in a bad way. I was stunned at how much that physical pain affected me mentally and even spiritually. I had setbacks with my physical therapy. It took me 15 whole months to step back onto a soccer field. And now I'm grateful to be back. I'm playing soccer, I'm running, I'm working out, but if I'm being honest with you, I'm not the same person that I was. I was a pretty good soccer player in my league, and I'm not anymore. I'm slower than I used to be, weaker than I used to be. I'm competitively lesser than I used to be. Do you have a spot like this in your life? A spot that you can remember, maybe the date, maybe the actual time when your life was painfully interrupted? Maybe it's the bed you were sitting in when your dad came into your room and told you about his upcoming divorce with your mom. Maybe it was that tragic and traumatic spot where you were first abused. Maybe it was the classroom you were sitting in when someone just said that thing about you that after all these years has stuck in the back of your brain. The doctor's office when you got the diagnosis. I don't know if you have a painful spot in your past, but I bet you remember it as well as I remember this spot. And I bet it's not some neat, tidy story with a nice, happy ending. But can I tell you what I've learned about pain? That God is right in the midst of it. Sometimes when we suffer, it's so easy to assume that God is distant, that God has forgotten about us, or that God doesn't love us. But what the Bible makes this stunning promise that God hasn't turned his back when we suffer. He didn't lose touch with us when moments like this happen. He's right in the midst of it, working out some great plan, even if we can't see it in the moment. A classic passage from the New Testament says this: we know that in all things God works for the good. In all things. In torn ACLs, in families that fall apart, in chronic pain and health issues, in things that we suffer, even the sins committed against us, in those things, because in all things, God is working for the good. I've seen that in my life. It's been over 2 years since my ACL blew apart in this very spot, but I've seen the faithfulness and the plans of God. I've always been a pretty good competitor. I've excelled in sports and academics, but the thing I was not very good at was compassion. And now I can't compete like I used to, but I'll tell you what, my compassion has increased. I get those of you who are suffering at home, those of you who have surgeries, those of you who don't bounce back as much as you used to. I honestly think I'm a better Christian and a way better pastor from having suffered what I suffered in this very spot. God was faithful. He cared about my character. He was willing to allow something bad to happen to my body so something good could happen to my soul. And today I want to tell you this promise is for you too. Do not let the devil deceive you into thinking your pain is pointless and that what you're going through right now doesn't have a purpose. That is a lie. We know. Do you know? We know that in all things, in that thing, God is working for the good. Now you're going to yell at the screen, well, what's the thing? What's the plan that God has? I can't see it yet. And that's true. I would never presume to know exactly the plans of God or what is in his divine mind. But think with me for a second. Maybe God wants to increase your character like he increased mine, to teach you empathy, compassion, to help you relate to other people you couldn't relate to. Maybe God wants to connect you with someone through your pain that you wouldn't have connected with if it wasn't for the pain itself. Actually, 2 days ago, do you know who showed up at my church for the very first time? My physical therapist. We had a chance to connect as I was moaning and groaning my way through my physical therapy. And there he was, hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Could that be God's plan for you, to connect you to a nurse, a doctor, a therapist, a counselor, a fellow patient? Or maybe, just maybe, God is saving your soul. Do you know that countless people who are healthy and wealthy, who have it so easy, forget about God? With no desperation, no pain to push them back to his promises, they get so caught up in the good life that they forget about our great God. Maybe this pain is keeping you close to the cross and making you ache to see his face in a place where there is no suffering or pain. Now, listen, I don't know the exact plan, but I do know this: in all things, God works for the good. Part of me doesn't like this spot. There's some bad memories of what happened here and in the months, even years afterwards. But another part of me, the Christian part of me, loves this spot. This is a spot where God was doing what God always does, carrying out his plans for the good of those who love him. I don't know your pain, I don't know your place, but I do know this: it always has a purpose, because God always has a plan.